let's make this look like $1 million, and we don't have $1 million to spend.
And then we'll have President Lincoln, or an impersonator of President Lincoln, I should say. Obviously, Lincoln can't come.
Bummer.
That'd be crazy.
He's a little dead. Because at a past event, things had gone down. Turns out a female escort had decided the bathroom was a great place to offer her services.
No.
Do you like flowers? So do we. Stop and smell the roses with CSI. All right. So today we're going to talk about the wow factor, right? I think we've all heard this. It gets thrown around a lot.
Every day.
Every day. Clients come
Every
to us.
call.
Yeah, all the time, right? And I think it's kind of, it's a pretty ambiguous term. And I kind of want to unpack a little bit about what does the wow factor actually mean? And how do we get clients to really explain to us what they mean when they're telling us about this mystery wow factor that they want us to provide?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we be better positioned to do that for them? So I kind of want to kick it off with, let's just unpack. What do you think when a client says, I want the wow factor, what are they trying to get at?
Gosh, every client is different too, so it's hard to say. But honestly, I feel like in a lot of times the client's mind is the wow factor is like this big moment. But I think, and I'll speak personally, I think a lot of times where I go with the wow moment is the thoughtfulness. Because I think personalization will be more impactful than just like some crazy big performance. Okay, you get maybe Beyonce, which honestly would be really cool. But it's not as personalized as having something like a greeter that is handing them an exact, maybe it's a realtor company and they're handing them these emblemed keys or something like that. Having things that are personalized rather than just thrown in your face because it's expensive.
Yeah, I think the interpretation of a wow factor is like half of the RFP process sometimes. I truly believe that clients really have an idea in their head. They just don't know how to articulate it. So you have to ask a lot of leading questions to help unpack what a wow factor is to them, because to each one it's very different. And sometimes it's that like champagne taste on a Baloney budget moment too, where you're like, okay, I know that you want a wow factor, but you literally gave me $10,000 to plan your whole event and it's not going to work out. Or maybe it is, but that's the only thing we're going to be able to do for you is one element that's a wow. And sometimes when you do put all your eggs in one wow basket, you lose out on a lot of other things that you need too, right? So, that everybody says we want a wow factor. And I think to me, it's just they want something memorable. Mm-hmm. They just want something memorable that's a takeaway for their audience to come back again or to do business with them again. That's it.
Yeah, and I think the key is understanding, well, what have you done in the past that's been the wow factor for you? Or when we executed this event for you last year, the wow factor was this. Are you thinking the same interpretation? Or are you thinking something completely new, completely different? Where do you want to invest your money and your spend on the wow moment? And then we can make recommendations that really make sense. I think it's just tough when we get clients that just, they can't articulate, oh, wow, I just want wow. I want something big, something huge, something new. And they can't communicate it. That causes problems.
Totally. I have a client that they do a 3-day incentive. And on the first night at sunset, they want their wow moment, right? They want to welcome the attendees. It's like 650 to 850 people, insurance company. And they want them to feel, recognized and important and special. So the CEO, does some sort of a moment to recognize them with some sort of a speech. And then sunset happens and then something happens to feel special. Now, some years they've done fireworks, right? They've done drones. They've done, which I have my own opinions about, we'll talk about. They've done as silly as t-shirt cannons. Mm-hmm. And then one year, this to me was a wow, totally different than a t-shirt cannon wow, but somehow it all rolls into the same for them, is we took the side of the Biltmore in Asheville, the side of the beautiful, beautiful mansion estate, and we did video projection mapping of a full-blown insurance experience. So we literally made it look like the building was going on fire, and then talked about like the insurance and why it saved the day and everything by mapping it all on the side of the wall while everybody stood on the garden and enjoyed the moment at sunset, right? Like, to me, that was a wow. We made it custom. We made it curated. It was a 3-minute story that everybody posted about, everybody took away as memorable, even though this Biltmore mansion as itself would have been a memorable moment, experiencing it and walking through it. The sunset exact moment was their wow. But to me, it's so interesting that, another year, a couple of t-shirt cannons did the same
That
trick,
was it. Gave it
right?
some effect.
So, that to me, wow can mean so many different things depending on the destination you're in, the audience that you have, and budget.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is I think we see different variables of wow depending on what are the companies celebrating. Is it their 100th year anniversary? Is it the changing of the guard with a new CEO that wants to bring something kind of unique and different and have a different perspective on it. So I think also understanding like what is the celebration about, or maybe what are the other things that are being factored in to incorporate that wow moment can also give you a level playing field. Like, do we really need to blow it out this year, or are we really looking to kind of continue keeping that momentum? But we're going to look at, in 3 years when you have this really big celebration for the company, that's the time that you maybe do, the fireworks on, on the lawn, right?
Yeah, on the
national mall,
yeah.
right? Because we get asked that all the time.
All
too.
the time. All the time. We're like, it's a lot of permitting. Can we deal with this later?
So how I think the key thing too that you guys both hit on is how do we balance the wow ask with the rest of the program that's inevitably going to also cost money to execute and execute well. And how do we navigate conversations with our clients to say, yes, this seems like it's a really important thing, but if you overspend on this, this is going to suffer.
Well, let me go back to my drone show comment, if you don't mind.
And she's back. She's back on the drone show.
Because, I do think it's really cool, right? And we've all seen videos, and there's those moments where you're like, oh, wow, they turned it into that. How interesting. And I've seen indoor drone shows and all of that. But drones can be very weather dependent. And they're very expensive. And I have had more times where we've booked a drone show and couldn't have it happen because especially we've got a lot of people that want to do them over the beach and over the water where it's especially windy and rains a lot, maybe in the state of Florida, for example. And you just spent $30, $50, $60, $80,000 on a drone show for this 5-minute experience that didn't get to happen. No. That's not a wow moment.
Yeah.
You've really missed the mark. And because of that, you didn't get to go to that offsite venue that you really wanted. You kept the big, evening event on property. Or because of that, you didn't upgrade your linens and centerpieces and chairs, and it felt like the same room that they were in for the general session. Whatever those other things were that you stole from to make that drone show happen, it didn't work out. So I just believe that sometimes wow factors can be little moments throughout the whole program versus that one huge fireworks drone moment, which are cool, but having, a flawless experience from soup to nuts from A to Z is cooler.
Yeah, we did an event one time in Charlottesville, and the client was so insistent on wanting to do this kind of end of the night experience. Everyone goes up in hot air balloons, and they have this incredible opportunity to go hot air ballooning. And obviously, you land somewhere, and then you do the champagne toast and all this exciting things, and it's going to be this cornerstone event. Well, again, going back to the weather dependency, which I think is always a red flag in my mind. The weather wasn't cooperating, so we had to push it to the next night. Well, now it's lost its momentum. The moment's over, but they still wanted to push it and still wanted to push it. We did that for 3 nights in a row over the total of like a 5 or 6 day program. And it became this running joke. Like, are these hot air balloons ever going to happen? And they spent all this money on this opportunity that was going to be this big, exciting moment that was so dependent on all of these other outside factors. And they lost sight of all the other things that were going on because they were so hyper-focused on making this moment happen. And, truth be told, we never got on those hot air balloons. Nothing ever happened.
But imagine if they just put a couple of tethered hot air balloons on the grounds and you could take your pictures with them and you could spend half the money or less and not have to worry about the wind or anything else. And we do that all the time.
I know.
With hot air balloon themes.
Yeah. I think it's just sometimes, we work with stakeholders, they get something in their head, they can't let it go. And navigating those conversations can be difficult. So that's a challenge. So tell me, because I know, you've had some experience with some wow moments, and I know DC gets a lot of requests for wow moments in the nation's capital. How do you navigate those conversations with your clients, or how do you dissuade them from putting all their eggs in one basket, or maybe position yourself with pitching an alternative idea that might bring as much wow, but on a more manageable level?
Yeah, I think it's always, first of all, understanding the client that you're speaking to, because I think there's always personality issues you're going to deal with from client to client. And I think it's also understanding the destination that you're selling, because I think there's a lot of times that I've the client has already booked travel and everything, and then they're booking this travel in Baltimore and they need to be bused all the way into DC. That trip alone, if anyone's from the DMV watching, knows that is like an hour to an hour and a half on and in rush hour. So even if it's not rush hour, it's 45 minutes. So I think having those strategic talks where we can give our knowledgeable insight is where we see we can change their minds on some things.
Well, it's not a wow anymore if they've had a miserable bus ride.
Exactly.
And I've had
get to go see the monuments, but they've been on a bus for an hour and now they're cranky.
And they don't want to be there. Someone has to go to the bathroom, and then they're not excited when they're in DC. They're like, okay, can we go back to the hotel? I'm tired.
Well, and I think too, buses can be wow moments if you do them right, right? If you do a police escort, a presidential motorcade for a vehicle, I've done that to presidential libraries, and people talk about that more than they talk about the event at the presidential library because they've never felt so special getting to, be the VIP that stopped the red light for them and everything else along the way. So, again, that's like a very low cost, very high impact wow moment that you might not have realized was going to check all the boxes for you when you put in your request for a quote unquote wow moment.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun ones too they're like the little small things that you can do to really make that impact. Like one of my favorite things is we will do a Monuments by Moonlight tour. So we'll get everyone on the bus. We get to see the monuments at Moonlight. We'll put a mobile bartender on there, shake it up while they're on the bus. And then we'll have President Lincoln, or an impersonator of President Lincoln, I should say.
Hello, I'm Abraham Lincoln.
Obviously, Lincoln can't come. That'd be crazy.
He's a little dead.
Wouldn't that be fun as a DMC? Yeah, right. That's the wow factor. Here's Lincoln. But we'll have an impersonator meet them at the Lincoln Memorial, and they'll come in. They'll get to say fun facts, take pictures with all the guests. And again, that's not something that's huge. They're not blowing their budget out on something like that, but it's so impactful because they get a little fun fact of history. They get a picture with Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial. It's thoughtfulness. I think that really matters to us.
It feels like it's behind the scenes. They're there after dark. They're there after hours. I think those kind of moments too. And, I think we sell this all the time is it, exclusive access? Is it seeing something behind the scenes? Is it having like a VIP experience that, maybe even the guests that are attending your event, maybe we curate something specifically like for a VIP group. Sometimes those moments can be just as meaningful and impactful. So I think it's just, having those conversations, like what are we really trying to do? What is the goal here? So tell me, have you ever had to, outside of a drone show, because we all know how you feel about that, have you ever had to talk someone out of a really harebrained wow idea that you just it's not going to be successful, it's not going to be impactful, and how did you?
I think sometimes it's little things that you have to talk them out of. Like this time of year doing an outdoor event might not be the right move, right? Or, I want to do an authentic clam bake, but I don't want to get my hands dirty. So we need to detail the lobsters and all this. Well, now it's not an authentic clam bake. So let's rethink the whole purpose behind our event, right? And so sometimes it's what are we really trying to accomplish, right? But also it is, for me, it's, understanding, is the wow that they're eating lobster, or is the wow that they got to like learn how to eat their own lobster in a way they've never eaten it before? Because candidly, they've probably eaten plenty of lobster around the world, but did they ever eat it, fresh where they saw it, dug in a seaweed pit on the sand and then pulled out and, learned how to crack it open themselves? That's a wow that doesn't have to cost you any more than the lobster you would have served on a fancy china plate, next to a filet mignon that same night.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as, we don't need to have the big name entertainer. We just have to have a really great band that's going to get everyone dancing, that can do incredible covers of the songs that everyone's going to love.
Right.
So again, a place where you can say, is the goal here really just to get everyone up and dancing and to enjoy themselves and to have an incredible show to watch? Or is that big ticket name entertainment the key for the success of this program?
I'll tell you too, I lost a piece of business because I misinterpreted a wow moment.
Oh, tell me.
And that just reminded me of it because I had talked to a client. We were in an arena venue, and they had already decided on the venue. I mean, there were 10,000 people. That's all that was going to work for them anyways. They were in an arena, and they said, we want a big name act, and we want to have an experiential kind of, theme around it and all of this stuff. And then the other DMC proposed, instead of one big name act, doing sort of 3 different types of, let's call them tier 3 or tier 4 acts that they could kind of layer instead of putting all their money on like an Aerosmith or whatever it was that was kind of coming up in our topics. And they said we decided to go with them because to us, you know, a wow factor meant we got to, you know, touch on 4 different generations over the course of 4 different bands. Even though no one had ever heard of 3 of the 4 bands, they thought that that was a better experience for them and covered their wow versus this like, you know, Steven Tyler moment. So, again, interpreting this wow is really a challenge for us, but also understanding that the 10,000 people in the room are going to all think that that's a wow. You know, maybe that other DMC was right to know that, you know, if you do 4 different acts, you're going to touch more people in the room than you would if you just picked one.
All right, so we're going to do a segment called the Ask Behind the Ask. So we've identified the very ambiguous ways that we hear about the wow factor that we have to deliver for our clients. I'm going to throw out some other one-liners that we often hear about the wow factor, and I would love to hear from you guys how you work to define those boundaries so we can give our meeting planners listening a little bit of clarity of kind of what to expect when they come to us.
I'm feeling like there's going to be a lot of trauma coming up. A lot of trauma over here from these.
I hope not. All right. So
this one.
All right, here's the first one. We want something that no one's ever done before.
So what have you done in the past that checked that box for you? I would ask them that question. And I would also say part of what you might want from us is something that we're experienced in. And if no one's ever done it before, we've never done it before either. So keep in mind, there may be some permits and loopholes that we have to work through, and it might not all be perfect on that first proposal. We may have to explore it together. Are you open to that?
I love that.
What she said.
Okay.
Put it in print. I think that one's always a question that comes up, and every time I try and field kind of the same thing of, you know, if it's never been done, it's never been done by us. We're going to have to, you know, learn through it together and, you know, overcome the challenge of it. So yeah.
Okay.
Good answer.
But it doesn't mean it's not possible to get it done.
Oh, yeah.
We're not saying no, because we have done things that have never been done before. But it's a process, and we have to be a little bit more flexible on our budget. We need to be a little more flexible on our timelines along the way.
And that's a good clarity, because they might say, well, actually, we want something that's tried and true that maybe we haven't seen before.
Right.
Not necessarily you've never done before. And
yeah.
that might be better comfort level for our stakeholders.
And maybe that's the verbiage they should use instead of never, ever been done before. Ever.
Love it. Okay. All right. Let's push the envelope. We all love that one.
Tell us about your envelope.
What's inside?
What's on the address?
A nice message? Lots of money, perhaps? Love that.
I think a good question back would be, you know, what's the worst case scenario if we go too far? Like what, you know, where do you draw the line? And are there any rules and regulations that exist within your company that we need to know about, especially from a security standpoint? Or, you know, I can't tell you how many times I work with an insurance company and then they want to do things that are very liable. So those would be some of my quick ones.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of giving us the guardrails of what this envelope looks like. Is it white? Is it black? Kind of giving us more clarity on where we can push this.
Yeah, I think the key is who's ultimately going to sign off on the idea. How brave can we really be? How innovative can we really be? And is that something that you think is going to be feasible? Because then they might need to really kind of rethink, okay, let me think about the approval process that I'm actually going to have to go through. And that envelope may not even be.
Well, because what's the time
open?
Well, and what's the timeline? Is that envelope going to be delivered in time?
Yeah.
Because a big piece to the puzzle sometimes is that we need to get things approved. And sometimes it's our clients need to get things approved internally with their stakeholders. And if both of those timelines don't match up, we can't make that happen, no matter how much we want to or how cool it would be.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about.
Here's a good one. And I've heard this one a lot. I want you to surprise me.
Well, I don't believe in surprises in event planning. I think the reason we're event planners is because we plan things and we don't want to be surprised, right? So I don't love surprises. I think you can surprise your attendees, but I don't believe that the planner should ever be surprised. They could surprise somebody internally on their team, but somebody at the organization needs to know what's going on, because we can't be, you know, making sure we don't, you know, abide by brand standards and all the other things that align with the purpose that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I think that's smart. Like, we'd love to surprise the attendees with a breakout opportunity they're not going to expect, but we've got to dial in on the details and make sure that you're aligned and you're comfortable.
You're expecting what we're
But I've heard it. It's a request.
And I have surprised my clients in site visits, right? We'll do a surprise with an entertainer at a venue. I've done a flash mob in a restaurant at dinner, right? Or, have a synchronized swimmer in the pool at the resort, right? Like there's ways to surprise in the planning process, but I don't think you should surprise when it comes to the actual execution of the program.
Right.
I
you
just
can
don't.
surprise with the ideas, right? You can surprise with, hey, I know you may have not thought about this. You said you wanted to kind of have this element of surprise brought in. Here's some really revolutionary ideas. What is your pulse on that?
Right.
Okay. All right. So another one that I thought I love. Let's make this look like $1 million. And we don't have $1 million to spend.
I get that one a lot.
This is a small envelope.
Yeah, it's a very small envelope.
It is. Yeah. It is. I truly believe that we can make high impact things happen at lower costs. I don't think everything needs to be $1 million. But hey, if you have $1 million, we can make a really, really big impact happen. But I think it's about setting expectations early. And realistically, these are some examples of things that do fit within your budget. Are they wows to you? Like I like to give real examples. Are these things going to be even close to where your head's at? And if we're not on the same page right off the bat, let's reevaluate, taking that same chunk of money and using it in other ways, because let's not go down a rabbit hole of just throwing everything that could be $10,000 or whatever the number is, at you, because realistically we may never hit the mark if you're really expecting $1 million experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And is there a message or a moment that we should be really hitting and nailing on that's going to make that event feel like the $1 million that it is? That's maybe not taking up all of your budget.
Right. Like, can you do, velvet place cards so it feels really luxe, but maybe not upgrade your glassware and maybe not upgrade your chargers or something else on the table, because you've added one element to the table that feels super, super luxe and gets everyone thinking that you're invested in their experience. But don't skimp on the other stuff either, right? So it's like, find that happy medium, but maybe add that one layer that's surprising to people that they haven't seen before, that can be as simple as a place card.
Well, and also I think, level setting that there are some really impactful things that are not going to spend a fortune on, right? They may have in their mind that if we execute XYZ, it's going to cost a lot of money. And working with us, we might say, well, actually, if we did it this way, or we scaled it back, or we incorporated it in this kind of one specific space, or, we can make it kind of have the same effect and the same wow experience without draining the bank account.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe we want to have like a big surprise happen on stage. Great. Maybe that surprise could be featuring your CEO and not a celebrity, right? Like, where can we kind of twist what we're trying to accomplish, still hit the mark, but do it using the resources that already exist within your organization?
Yeah. Love it. All right. So are you guys ready for a little confession moment?
Always.
Okay. So this one is called Restroom Escorts and Executive Events, only in Las Vegas. Okay. So we had a client once who specifically requested we post security in the restrooms, like inside the restrooms. Why? Because at a past event, things had gone down. Turns out a female escort had managed to sneak past event security. She knew the event was packed with high-profile execs and decided the bathroom was a great place to offer her services.
No.
So now restroom security is apparently part of the run of show. Because in Vegas, you're not just managing vendors, you're managing vibes, egos, and very, very bold business plans.
Oh,
That's
my
crazy.
God.
She tried to have a pretty woman. Like, she really did.
Right?
She was looking for a billionaire.
I mean, that's an interesting strategy that she had, but that's crazy. That's something that they then build into every. Oh, wow.
I mean, but how
her logic?
How do you have that conversation though? Like, well, we had this one incident last year, so now we need restroom security to manage that no one sneaks into the restroom.
Yeah, good for that one attendee too that came out of the bathroom and let someone know that there was an escort.
I would have looked my other way and
I
just
know,
washed
been
my
like,
hands and left.
You girl, you do you.
Do you, boo boo?
You do, you girl. Well, I just wonder how she even got into the event in the first place, let alone get into the bathroom of the event. Because shouldn't there have been security at the front door?
That's the bigger concern I have too. Like we don't need to wait till they get to the restroom. Let's start outside the ballroom.
I mean, maybe they only had a partial buyout. They had shared restrooms with the public, but like that's a little bit of a red flag for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I cannot even imagine.
Okay.
So, all right.
Next time, we're tackling something every planner deals with, but most don't have time to rethink: the RFP. We'll break down what actually makes a great DMC RFP, what DMCs wish you included, and how to avoid the red flags that get your proposal moved to the bottom of the pile. If you've ever sent or received an RFP and thought, there has to be a better way, you'll want to hit subscribe.
As always, thanks for joining us on Event Planner Confessions. Keep planning boldly, and we'll see you next time.